Hey there, everyone, and welcome to Varsity Spotlight. I'm Jeff Taylor.
And I'm Jack Taylor. Now, the past week was busy with action from the football field, the volleyball courts, and to the pitch. We've got you covered with scores and highlights coming up.
And as we do every Friday, we're going to introduce you to our Varsity Spotlight athlete. This week we head to Butler High School and we meet a young lady who is seeing college offers roll in from all over the country. That's coming up. But first, let's recap some of last week's football action. Jack.
Yeah, we're going to start with a huge look at one of these big games here, and that was Independence up against Palisade. These two teams are going to see each other in the postseason, and this game to start out and end the non-conference competition was huge. You see the defense really firing on all cylinders, but in the end, Independence getting a big win. Now, Audrey-Kell up against Chambers, both teams in really desperate need of a win after big losses last week. Audrey-Kell was the faster team out there. They get the win 16-13 over the Cougars on the road, mind you. Now let's sprinkle in some conference competition. We see the first conference matchup for Weddington and the new kids in Charlotte Catholic. Weddington on the road and making sure Catholic feels what it's like to be in the Southern Carolina Conference. It's a little bit different in that conference. They get a big win 42-7. Now this isn't a conference game, but it is a rivalry game. Providence up against Butler, and Providence getting the upset win over Butler in their rivals, the Bulldogs, with a big win 27-21. All right, now into some private versus public school action. The Chris James Bowl, both head coaches named Chris James. Myers Park getting the better of the Knights in this one, a 24-6 victory over Christian as Myers Park bounces back from a loss last week. Now, we talked about Myers Park. Mallard Creek has had two big wins, this one included, and Myers Park the week before. They went on the road to finish their non-conference competition up against Cardinal Gibbons, and they get a much-needed win, cementing really what they wanted to do before non-conference into conference play. Speaking of conference play, Olympic hosting Cox Mill in their new look conference, and Olympic was firing on all cylinders, came fast out of the gate in their first week of conference competition. They look to carry that momentum as they continue on throughout. Now, speaking of conference competition, we've got Cuthbertson up against Porter Ridge. These two teams really try to fight for basically second place whenever Weddington is being so dominant. They're making sure they're still in the postseason, and both teams more than likely will be. But Porter Ridge has the early step ahead of them with getting a big win 42-17 over the Cavaliers. It's a big win for Porter Ridge. Last week we saw Ballantyne Ridge get its first win ever as a school. They were trying to continue that momentum, get their first win at home ever. Going up against R.J. Reynolds coming into town. The defense was firing on all cylinders at the beginning, but could not hold it to the end. Now, speaking of first wins, we see North Iredell getting a huge first win of the season. They really needed it before they started conference competition. They've got a bye this week, so they're hoping to recuperate and really ride that momentum into conference competition. You see the pick six here. They went all the way down the field, got that win that they desperately needed, and maybe that can turn their season around. We talked about some more conference competition. We go now to Hickory Ridge up against Central Cabarrus, and the Raging Bulls can't stop this Raging running back right here, going all the way untouched to the end zone to just start the scoring off for Central Cabarrus and getting a big win for the Vikings in that matchup. Continuing on now, we see J.M. Robinson getting a win to start conference competition. They've been up and down all season, so maybe once they now get into their conference competition, they can really cement themselves as the top dogs there. We look now, North Meck up against Hopewell. The blocked field goal to keep the lead for North Meck, and you're not allowed to run a field goal back once you've blocked it, but North Meck doesn't really care at this point. They're going to make sure that they get the quote-unquote touchdown as they get a win over Hopewell, and that's going to start off as they go into conference competition. And then we talk about teams outside of our area now. Fort Mill was undefeated up until this point, but they cannot hold their ground up against Catawba Ridge. You see the defensive back just nowhere near the wide receiver there. They get a first loss of the season. There was one guy, though, that stood out among all these plays, and that is our guy who's our NIL Spotlight of the Week. Let's take a look now at Brody Keefe of Myers Park. The Duke commit has been all over the field all season long, not just in this one. Look at, that's also at Charlotte Christian. He's celebrating with all of his classmates right there.
Love the fans showing up. Love the fans showing up.
He's got confidence. He's got a lot of swag. And when you have the Duke commit already in hand and you've been playing the way he's been playing, you really have the ability to kind of show off a little bit. And he backs it up, right?
I believe we've said his name every week on the Blitz.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who he's playing against, where he's at. On the road against Mallard Creek, he gets the moss over the defensive back. Who's probably
that was the second one or third one of the year, actually.
There's a little bit of DPI there, but he doesn't care, right? And he gets another big play here up against Providence at home.
And this is the move of the year. I mean,
look at that. Just making sure the one defensive back is going clear the other direction. And then even into week 1 up against J.M. Robinson, you talk about mossing guys week in and week out. He did it early on, and he's done it often. That first highlight we saw.
Dude getting a great commit in Brody Keefe.
Absolutely.
Remember that name. You're going to hear it a lot. Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's week 5. Everybody take a deep breath. Jack, you need a deep breath? You good?
Yeah.
All right, let's go to week 6 and let's talk about tonight's football action and our Bayhackle Sports game of the week that kicks off in less than 30 minutes right over on MeTV.
Yeah, tonight we have West Charlotte, who's traveling to Mallard Creek. Now, West Charlotte comes into tonight's game with a somewhat surprising 3-2 record, as the defending 3A state champs are riding now a 2-game winning streak, which they really needed after that 1-2 start. Mallard Creek, however, bringing in a 4-1 record into tonight's game, also on a 2-game winning streak. Theirs, though, being Myers Park and Cardinal Gibbons. So we had a chance to catch up with both coaches who know they're in for a tough game tonight.
We were a little bit more undefeated than we are with 2 losses. I realized that, we're going to overtime. We need to be a little bit better than what we are. It's just about preparation, but I do think that we are the best team in the state of North Carolina, but our record's not going to show that right now. So we have to grow from the mistakes. Have we grown enough? That's the key. Like, this is a big statement game coming up versus Mallard Creek. They've arguably had the toughest schedule out of anybody. And, game for game, that you can't argue their schedule is very tough.
Now, as we said, Mallard Creek comes in with 2 impressive wins over the last 2 weeks. This will be, get this, only their second home game of the season. Here's what Coach Kennedy Tinsley had to say on tonight's matchup.
As always, West Charlotte is, a great program, obviously rich with tradition and success. And then last year, them winning the 3A state championships was huge for our conference, and so now we're in a new conference, but we're still in there with West Charlotte, and so them being named one of the top teams in the state, and then having the schedule that they've had, they've obviously shown that they're a very good team, man, that looks to have a great season. And so with that challenge ahead of us, I think for us it's always the same. We want to play to the best of our ability, have great weeks of practice, and ultimately look to get the most out of our team.
Kickoff of our Bayhackle Sports Game of the Week is set for 7 p.m. And if you can't get out to Mallard Creek, you can catch all the action on MeTV.
Might be 2 of the best coaches in our area.
Probably, I would say so. It's not a hard thing to say.
No, exactly. All right, we have more Varsity Spotlight ahead as we head to Butler High School and get to know a young lady who's one of the best players on the hardwood in the Queen City. We'll be right back. You don't want to miss it. We head to Butler High School and check in on one young lady whose performance on the basketball court is getting attention from schools all across the country.
My name is Hannah Moss. I'm a senior at Butler High School, and I play point guard for the Butler Bulldogs. When I first touched the basketball, I was probably 11 years old, playing outside with my sister. He's the reason I started playing basketball originally. I have 6 sisters, and I'm the youngest of 7, making me the baby, so.
We have 7 girls, and the baby.
I feel as if basketball clicked for me, and I realized I was a baller when I was probably 7th grade, 8th grade, because I was decided oh, I want to go do this in college. And that's when the shift kind of happened. I realized I was actually pretty good at it, so I'm going into high school, I want to start taking this more seriously.
As a kid, Hannah growing up would sit on the bench at Carolina Courts watching her older sister play basketball and just try to tell her sister what to do. And I knew then my child had something in her, and I had to make her pull out what she wanted to do. I would say the turning point for Hannah would be 8th grade, and she played up that year. So she was playing girls a little bit older than her. I remember being in a gym in Atlanta, Georgia, and a captain coach came up to me and he said, "She's special."
Hannah Moss is what you call a true student athlete. What's impressive to me is her work and her work ethic and her drive. When she comes in, she's one of the ones you have to kind of tone her down because she goes so hard. Sometimes I think she goes too hard to the point where she's gonna hurt herself.
Hannah's special. She got the dog in her like her daddy.
I believe that what drives me to wake up in the morning and go to the gym and just keep playing basketball is just the structure it's given me and the friends and community, and basketball just paved the way for me to go into my further life after I'm done playing with it. So that's just why I always get up and do it every day.
She's gonna get here early and get up some shots. After school, Hannah Moss is here in the gym, do a little ball handling and some other stuff. And then next thing you know, for probably like the next 45 minutes, she's going to go through her whole routine and she's going to get up some shots. She's going to be the first one to show up. She's going to be the last one to leave. I've been here at Butler 27 years. In my 27 years, I have not coached an athlete that is as passionate and as driven as Hannah Moss.
When it comes to basketball, I think I'm passionate about just the environment that it puts you in, and then just the people you meet, as well as just being able to sit there and watch other people play and film, and just being able to break it down and see some of the best players and learn from them. I think I'm really passionate about just the growth of our game as on the women's side.
Hannah, this is your father. I am so proud of you. The determination that you have in you, I never seen that in anyone else. It's just amazing how hard you've worked at basketball. That goes to show you that hard work pays off. Continue to do what you need to do, and I love you.
I'm extremely proud of Hannah. I'm kind of sad that it's coming to an end, but I'm so happy to see where it's going.
I've received close to 20 Division I offers from schools such as William & Mary, Western Carolina, App State, ETSU. I haven't chosen yet, but stay tuned to see where I go. I'm Hannah Moss, and this is my Varsity Spotlight.
All right, 3 things from that story. Number 1, 20 offers.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's crazy. So kudos. And how do you choose? I mean, I guess
no
you'll
idea.
know
No.
with that. Number 2, when you have a coach and a teacher who's been at that school for 27 years, and that coach looks you in the eye and says you are one of the most passionate, if not the most passionate, dedicated athlete I've ever seen at Butler High School, that's huge.
That's definitely saying something, because there's been a lot.
Exactly. Number 3, parents, 7 girls. Great job. I mean,
Yeah, kudos.
kudos to that. So that's pretty cool.
Absolutely, and I'm not envying her having to make that decision between 20 different schools.
I know.
But it's definitely a good decision to have to make.
Absolutely. So listen, if you have a story you want us to tell, make sure you reach out to us. You can head over to WCCBCharlotte.com, or you can hit us up on our social media sites. We'd love to tell the stories. They're great stories out there.
Absolutely. Now, coming up next, we're going to check in on some volleyball and soccer action that took place over the last few days here in the Queen City and the surrounding areas. We'll be right back with more Varsity Spotlight. The Varsity Spotlight, I'm Jack Taylor. As we just showed you, there was some great action on the high school football fields across our area last week. So now let's take a look at some of what went down on the courts and the pitch.
All right, and let's start with volleyball as the season is rolling on and a lot of teams starting to make that postseason push. We start with East Meck, who made the trip to Weddington to take on the Warriors. The home team would jump out to an early 2-0 lead and appeared on their way to a sweep, but East Meck would battle back to win the third, set at a close one, 25-23. In the fourth set, the two teams would battle back and forth. Weddington wins the fourth set and they win this match 3-1. Weddington now sits at 12-3 on the season. East Meck dropped to 14-7.
All right, up next, we see Parkwood taking on Union Prep. This one was all Parkwood early on. The Wolfpack dominant against the Polar Bears.
Great name.
Yeah, absolutely. Winning this one in straight sets. Union Prep did not score double digits in any of those 3. That's a huge achievement in volleyball. Parkwood would hold Union Prep to just 20 points total the whole day. Now, with the win, Parkwood improves to 13-4 on the season. Union Prep has a record of 2-6.
All right, on we go. Next up, Cuthbertson visiting Butler. The first 2 sets of this match were close, with Cuddy winning 25-20 and 25-23. Eventually, Butler got worn down though and would only be able to score 10 points in the third set. Cuthbertson wins this match with a 3-0 sweep, another sweep for everybody. They now have a record of 14-5 in 2025. As for Butler, they are now 11-5 on the 2025 season.
Let's take a look at the red-hot Marvin Ridge volleyball team playing host to Huff. The Mavericks only have 2 losses this entire season. They would win this one easily, spoiler alert, over the Huskies. Marvin Ridge has been dynamic and dominant on offense all season long, getting the sweep here, no surprise there. Marvin Ridge continuing to make a statement on the court. They're 17-2 and a perfect 7-0 in conference play in Southern Carolina Conference. Huff is 7-10 on the season.
All right, one more stop for volleyball action. Fort Mill playing host to Nation Ford, and this one would end with a sweep again. And that was for the visiting team. Nation Ford would win 3 sets, 25-17, 25-14, and once again 25-17 to win the match. With the loss, Fort Mill now sits at 4-5 on the season, while Nation Ford, they are 16-4. They currently sit in first place in their conference, and they're starting to get geared up for a possible playoff push.
All right, now let's take our attention over to the pitch, starting with, again, Marvin Ridge taking on Myers Park. This is a matchup of two of the best teams in our area, Mustangs versus the Mavericks there. Myers Park with only 1 loss on the season, and that is the way it would stay. Mustangs win this one 2-1, getting a goal each from seniors Burke Anderson and Henry Bonner. Marvin Ridge getting their lone goal from Colton Perkins. Myers Park now a dominant 9-1 record on the season. Marvin Ridge isn't far behind. They're 8-3-1.
All right, one more from the pitch for you. Sun Valley taking on Weddington. The Warriors, who made the trip to Sun Valley, would get the win in this one. They double up Sun Valley and they win this one 4-2. Now with the win, Weddington moved to 4-4-2 on the season, while Sun Valley, they dropped to 6-7-1. So everybody take a deep breath. Those are all the volleyball and soccer highlights for you.
Yeah, there was a lot of action. There was also some action on Friday night that proved to have some great football games. This week, we gave you, the viewer, the chance to decide which of the 3 plays would be our play of the week. The votes have been counted, and here we go with this week's play of the week. Coming from a game between Olympic and Cox Mill, Olympic getting that start strong in conference play. The running back, Bryce Nixon, finds just a little bit of open field, and then he goes sideline to end zone. 60-plus yards for the score. He is fast as all get out, and it really allowed for Olympic to run away with this one, a 35-14 win over Cox Mill. So, congrats to Bryce Nixon. Now make sure to tune in to Rising on Monday morning. We'll show you 3 plays from tonight's action that you can vote on by going to WCCBCharlotte.com to be our next basketball sports play of the week.
Yeah, that guy was a little quick. To say he was fast is an understatement. All right, we have one more segment for you, and coming up, we'll get you ready for week 6 of the high school football season. Stick around. More Varsity Spotlight coming at you next. Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Varsity Spotlight. I'm Jeff Taylor. That's Jack Taylor. We're just a few minutes away from kickoff of week number 6 of high school football. There's some great matchups. We'll get to those in just a sec. But let's take a look at some of the standings, because you know what, and across the board, all the sports, it's some great stuff going down.
We're getting into conference play. We just showed you some highlights. We talked about Marvin Ridge, 7-0 in Southern Carolina. Absolutely. You see Weddington right behind, 6-2. Sun Valley creeping up the standings at 5-2. Cuthbertson falling down at 5-3, and then Piedmont really trying to round out that top 5 with 2-6, but they're trying to climb their way up.
Marvin Ridge, I mean, they're going to make a play for the state.
Absolutely.
They're tough.
They did it so last year, and they're going to do so again this year. Now on to soccer. We've got some action for you and some standings from the Greater Charlotte Athletic Conference there. We see South Meck leading the charge there, 4-0. Myers Park we all talk about, but South Meck is winning in the conference.
I know, but Myers Park, listen, they're tough. We know what's going to happen there probably. They might be the best in the state. But yeah, I'm surprised. I'm going to be honest, until I saw it up there, I didn't know South Meck was 4-0.
So there we go, got that conference play. Now on to football. We're starting to get into conference play, just week 1 for most teams, but some teams have been in there for 3 weeks. You see in this one, the Western Foothills Conference, they are there. Hickory, of course, way up, and then Shelby as well in theirs, both 3-0, Lincolnton 3-0, Stuart Kramer right behind. Both of those teams really fighting to try to get to the top of that in that extra conference as well, and the rest of the conferences are going to start getting into play as well, so it should be a big matchup.
And when you talk about, Shelby, we're talking historic.
Absolutely.
An historic program, so not surprised to see them out to the quick start. Lincoln, same thing. Stuart Kramer, I mean, listen, that's a gauntlet right there.
Absolutely it is. Now, we talked about the conferences. Let's look at some of the games that are coming up tonight as conference play goes on full. We've got Ashbrook hosting North Gas, and Ashbrook's undefeated. They got a big win against South Point last week. 2 undefeated teams going head-to-head, so that should be a big matchup for that conference. We talk about it. Hunter Huss is going to be taking on South Point. Hunter Huss only has 1 loss. South Point only has 1 loss. So that's going to be a huge conference competition for that area to see really who's going to find their way into the postseason. Then we talk about Ballantyne Ridge. They're going to be taking on East Meck for their first games in conference play, which could be a big chance.
Fun one. It could be a fun one.
It'll be a big chance for Ballantyne Ridge to try to bounce back.
Yep.
Same with East Meck after losing to South Meck. We talk about it. Providence as well going into conference play, taking on Barry, hosting them. They could really push the momentum going into conference play.
You're talking about momentum. Getting the win against Butler, they have a chance to take it a notch.
Absolutely. You see, Rocky River, they got a big win against Garinger last week at home. So they really were able to kind of come into the non-conference play or in the conference competition with the win. Don't know if it's going to be enough there. Speaking of which, J.M. Robinson starts off their conference competition against, get this, a newcomer in their area, Salisbury, in the same conference as J.M. Robinson.
That's going to be a good ball game.
I think so. If Salisbury comes to play, they've been on a slow start.
I know, but
Catholic's got conference competition as well, trying to bounce back and get a win. They're going to be taking on Porter Ridge, though, so it could be a brutal two-game stretch for Charlotte Catholic that's now joining this conference.
Yeah.
Could be really struggle for the Cougars, or a chance to make that statement game in this one as well. You see Cougars really have a chance, and Cuthbertson, really they have a chance to try to get a big one as well. We talked about it, Weddington up against Sun Valley. That's another big game. Then we see Chambers, they're going to be taking on Butler, another big game for both of those teams coming off of conference play. Yeah, they both need big wins in those weeks as well. So there's a lot of chances for some action here. And some other ones that we're not showing you, but we did talk about. Fort Mill taking on Catawba Ridge, trying to get a win after losing there. You get Providence Day hosting Cannon, and then Stuart Kramer at Shelby, like we just talked about. That's a big matchup.
Basically, you're looking at what, the top?
The top three there, both undefeated in the conference.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, well, that's it for this week's Varsity Spotlight. Stay tuned for our Bayhackle Sports Game of the Week between Mallard Creek and West Charlotte. Just head over to MeTV to catch all the action.
And right after that, come back to WCCB. We'll bring you all the scores and highlights from an exciting Week 6 on the Blitz during the 10 p.m. news. We'll see you then. Enjoy your Friday night. Enjoy all the high school sports, from football to volleyball to soccer. We will see you next Friday.